Sometimes the most terrifying stories don't begin with screams or shadows, but with a small discovery hidden where it never should have been. This is the story of a man whose weekend trip turned into a descent into something impossible. A story about an old photograph found inside a hotel room drawer, a photograph taken in 1938, showing a man who looked exactly like him. What seemed like coincidence soon twisted into a nightmare of time slipping, blurred figures, and a version of himself he was never meant to meet. This is the story of Daniel. The story of the man who returned with a photo from 1938. Daniel, a 32-year-old travel photographer, arrived at the Marrowstone Inn, a historic hotel undergoing renovations. The place appealed to him. He liked old structures, the kind that creak with stories embedded in their walls. His room assignment was strange. The staff mentioned the room hadn't been occupied in over a year. No reason was given, just a casual note spoken as if it didn't matter. Daniel assumed it was an oversight or part of the building's slow restoration. Room 203 was old but charming in a forgotten sort of way. Dark wood furniture. A large window overlooking the empty courtyard. And a faint scent of dust, like books left untouched for decades. As he unpacked, he noticed the desk drawer was slightly open. Inside it was a single black and white photograph. The photograph was worn, curled at the edges, and obviously decades old. It showed a busy street scene from what looked like the late 1930s, people in suits and long coats, a row of storefronts, a trolley line. One figure stood in the foreground. A man. Daniel froze. The man in the picture didn't just resemble him, he matched him exactly. Same face. Same haircut. Same faint eyebrow scar he'd had since he was 16. Even the shirt the man wore seemed identical to the one Daniel had worn the night he checked in. The resemblance was too exact to be a coincidence. He tried to rationalize it. A prank, a trick of lighting, a strange coincidence. But the photo felt wrong. Too specific. Too personal. When he asked the hotel staff about lost items, they insisted nothing was found in that room for as long as they'd been there. They maintained the room hadn't been used in over a year. The photograph had no business being there. Determined to understand the origin, Daniel took the photo around town. It didn't take long before a local antiques dealer recognized the location. The street in the picture was Alder Street. Alder Street didn't exist anymore. It had burned down in 1938 in a fire that destroyed several blocks. The entire area had been rebuilt, and nothing remained of the original storefronts shown in the photograph. As Daniel studied the picture again in the dealer's shop, something else caught his eye, something he could have sworn wasn't visible before. Another figure in the background. A second version of himself. This version was blurred, positioned behind the main figure, almost as if it were caught mid-movement. The blur distorted the features, but the posture, the build, the hairline, it was him. The realization left him cold. That night, the hotel felt different. More oppressive. The hallways seemed darker, the air heavier. Daniel lay in bed but struggled to sleep. Around 2:13 a.m., he heard slow, deliberate footsteps pacing above his room. There was no floor above room 203. The sound continued for several minutes before stopping abruptly. Silence followed, thick, suffocating silence. Unable to rest, Daniel retrieved the old photograph again. Under the lamp's soft light, he noticed something unnerving. The background of the picture looked slightly altered. A shape that hadn't been distinct before now seemed closer to the camera, like someone or something had shifted forward. The longer he stared, the more wrong the image seemed. Eventually, exhaustion pulled him into sleep. Daniel's sleep wasn't restful. Instead, he fell into a vivid, overwhelming vision. He was standing in the middle of Alder Street as it looked in 1938. Horse-drawn carts, vintage cars, newspaper boys, the distant smell of smoke drifting through the air. Directly ahead of him stood another version of himself, wearing the same outfit he'd worn when he found the photograph. This version stared at the bustling street as if unaware of Daniel's presence. Further down the road, moving unnaturally through the crowd, was the blurred figure from the photograph. Its movement seemed wrong, too fluid, too quick, as if it didn't fully belong to the world around it. The sky darkened. Flames began to rise behind the buildings, consuming the street in a way that felt more symbolic than physical, like a warning. The dream ended violently when a loud knock echoed through his hotel room. Daniel woke suddenly, heart pounding. The room was silent. The door was locked. No one was in the hallway. But on his pillow lay something that hadn't been there when he fell asleep. Another photograph. This one wasn't old. It wasn't black and white. It was a recent picture, crisp, clear, and disturbingly modern. It showed Daniel sleeping in the same position he had just woken up in. Same blanket. Same lighting. Same room. The angle suggested the photo had been taken from inside his room, sometime during the night. In the far corner of the image, partially obscured by shadows, stood a figure. Its outline was unmistakable. It was him. Terrified, Daniel packed his belongings and left the hotel without looking back. The staff claimed no one had entered his room and insisted no night worker could have taken the photo. The explanation didn't matter anymore. He wanted distance from room 203, from the hotel, from whatever force had left him that second picture. But the nightmare didn't end when he left. Back home, as Daniel uploaded his photos from the trip, he noticed distortions in several images taken days before he even reached the Marrowstone Inn. In picture after picture, landscapes, street shots, even selfies, a faint, blurred figure appeared at the edges of the frame. Always watching. Always just far enough away to blend into the background. When he enhanced one of the photos, the outline became clearer. It resembled him. A version of him standing just out of sight. Someone, or something, that had been following him long before he ever checked into room 203. Daniel shared the story online, hoping someone could make sense of what he had discovered. He posted the 2 photographs and asked if anyone had seen something similar. For 3 days, responses poured in, speculation, fear, theories about time loops, doppelgängers, alternate timelines. Then, without explanation, Daniel deleted his account. Minutes later, a final image appeared on the thread from the now-deleted profile. A grayscale picture of Alder Street as it had looked in 1938. In the foreground, half-blurred but unmistakably him, stood Daniel, wearing the same shirt he had purchased just a week before he vanished. No caption. No explanation. Just the image. And since that moment, no one has heard from him again.